offsets them. I'm Mercy Frank, but now to our top story. Well, Nigeria is proposing reforms that seek to increase the simplicity and efficiency of its tax administration. The government says it is considering the imposition of 25% tax on Nigerians earning 100 million naira or more monthly. It also says some categories of Nigerians would have to pay less and that some would be exempted. Now, since the announcement, social media has been agog with fears and optimism. In the story, but just Nigeria's Wale Fakile speaks to experts to explain what to expect should those reforms see the light of day.
Today, if you earn 100 million naira a month, nobody hits 19% effective personal income tax rate. We're taking that up to 25%.
In a nation where the rich gets richer and the rest hold on tight, a new financial reality looms. The Nigerian government is proposing a 25% personal income tax for the wealthy. But will this be a lifeline for the country's flailing economy, or just another weight for those trying to stay afloat?
We've not felt the impact of tax we pay.
For many Nigerian workers like Stella Akuma, the tax hike raises questions. While the wealthy braces for the 6% jump, current realities paint a different story, one of multiple taxes, poor infrastructure, and underused funds.
As we are paying tax, the government is channeling this tax into ensuring that the amenities that is needed for each citizen is functional. But we find out that is not the case.
If you earn 1.5 million naira a month or less, your personal income tax bill will go down. Of course, at the lower end, completely exempted. But if you earn more than that amount, you see it going up incrementally up to 25%.
For Nigeria's wealthiest, the proposed 25% tax rate means more will be taken from paychecks. The idea? To generate much-needed revenue for a country grappling with inflation, unemployment, and a weakened Naira. But how has part revenue been spent, and who will truly benefit from this impending hike?
People's disposable income will reduce significantly, especially the middle class. I wouldn't want to say the rich, because the tax brackets captures if you are earning up to 50 million and above, then you'll be giving about 25% as tax.
In 2022, the total internally generated revenue (IGR) for Nigeria's 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory was approximately 1.925 trillion. Taxes made up a substantial portion of this amount. As Nigeria's tax system grows heavier, so do the burdens of its people. Public infrastructure remains in disrepair, healthcare systems struggle, and education remains underfunded. Taxes are collected on multiple levels, but visible results are scarce.
When you write out a budget, and there's a revenue side, so we're going to raise 1 trillion. Then there's an expense side. This is how we're going to spend that 1 trillion. So generally, even if you're good on the revenue generation side, but your implementation on the expense side is not good, then some work needs to be done. Leaders probably need to be held more accountable for their use of taxes.
One of the tragedies of our history is that connection, that explanation, that accountability from the state, there's a part of it that we inherited from colonialism, but that's not an excuse. The truth of the matter is that right now, the state also tends not to take the time to explain to the people what is going on.
At the core of the tax system is the personal income tax. This is the tax deducted from salaries by employers and remitted to tax authorities based on earnings.
Before you are taxed under the personal income tax, you first of all determine what your gross income is, which is the aggregate of your income. And then you are allowed some deductions under the law. Talk about your pension, talk about your contributions to a National Housing Fund, if you still do. Talk about your contributions maybe to NHIS. Talk about maybe if you have a life assurance policy on yourself and your spouse. So these are like different reliefs available to you. You are allowed to take these reliefs out of your gross income, and then you are left with your taxable income.
So, what about the proposed 25% increment?
We're going to have, some dramatic changes in how we compute our PAYE taxes. So the first one is that the consolidated relief allowance, which is like the big guy amongst all the reliefs that we have, has been taken away. And then you have an introduction of another relief known as the rent allowance. And that rent allowance, you're allowed to take deduction of 20% of your rental expense up to a maximum figure of 200,000. Then when you take, and then all the other reliefs that you have, they're still constant. Your pension and all, you can still take deduction for that. After taking them off your gross income, you will now have your taxable income, which is what you will now run through the new tax table.
There's also value-added tax, VAT, which is added to goods and services. Every time you buy a product, from fuel to food, VAT is included in the price. Currently set at 7.5%, it applies to most goods and services, placing an indirect tax burden on everyone, from the rich to the poor. But it's not just about income and VAT. Nigeria's tax system is layered with multiple types of taxes, often leading to confusion and frustration for workers and businesses. There are at least 10 different kinds of taxes that citizens and businesses may face. For individuals and businesses alike, navigating these taxes can be overwhelming, especially with multiple layers of payment at federal, state and local government levels.
The two local government tickets supposed to serve, but they did not agree. They will say you should still buy Buhari. If you buy Buhari, the AMAC will hold you. You say you still buy AMAC again.
But if you check the tax that they are collecting, the revenue that they are getting out from Maraba and Nasarawa State, the revenue, check the roads are bad.
Tax authorities say President Tinubu is working to harmonize the tax laws in the country. He sent 4 bills to the National Assembly to this effect.
Tax reform is not and will not increase or introduce any taxes. If anything, because when we talk about harmonization, it actually reduced the number of taxes that will be paid and also increase the simplicity and efficiency of tax administration in Nigeria.
Experts argue that reform is possible by streamlining taxes, reducing multiple levies, and increasing transparency. Nigeria could unlock its economic potential and reduce the burden on everyday workers.
I also believe that there should be a platform where people who are not very comfortable with what they are charged as taxes can complain. That system is not there today. So I hope that, especially at state level, that could be there.
If, for example, I could access free good health care or free good schools for my kids with a tax clearance, I'm more likely to pay my taxes.
Sometimes you have to do public relations. So for instance, you take the taxes, the initiative, you put up a project that makes it look as if you're actually increasing taxes and directly using it to do something. I think Lagos attempted this at one time, where you had billboards that stated that, oh, this road is being fixed by tax money.
Nigeria stands at a crossroads. The proposed tax hike is just one step in what could be a much larger journey toward economic stability. But for millions of Nigerians like Stella, it's hard to trust the system but deliver on its promises. The increase in personal income tax might fill government coffers, but will it fill the gaps in public services, infrastructure, and trust? The future awaits answers. Wale Fakile, Just Nigeria.
An interesting conversation there. What do you think about the proposed tax reforms? Share your thoughts with us on X at Just Nigeria TV. We'd like to hear from you.